That's it. I'm gonna have to pull out funny Mike for this episode. What is going on, Jimmy?
Yo,
And
up.
welcome to episode 7.
Let's get right.
Woo! Yeah, baby! Episode number 7! This calls for some celebration.
I feel like this is the wrong kind of music for this.
Alright.
This is definitely not the kind of music for that thing.
Well, hey,
Motivational montage music.
we're getting into it. We are getting into it, baby.
More like getting over it. Am I right?
That made 0 sense. You need to go to comedy school. Anyway, we've got a great episode lined up for you guys, so I think we're just gonna be shooting from the hip. We're gonna be shooting from the hip pretty much this episode because it's not like we don't got anything to talk about. We just didn't really have a plan. It kind of Saturday sprung up on us.
Yeah.
Yeah, it did. So let me ask you guys, how was your guys' week?
It was cool.
All right,
Yeah. I worked.
nice. How'd that go?
It made me want to cry. Honestly, okay. Before we start, I guess this could be like the first thing we talk about. It kind of want to talk about workplace stuff, but I'll start because I am currently employed, and since I brought it up, so first things first, working at Amazon sucks so much. So, and the reason
Uh-oh.
it sucks, no, the reason it sucks is not because they won't let me pee. I have to wear a diaper to work. No, that's not the reason. The reason it sucks, and I work at Amazon Fresh,
Wait, hold
so
on.
it's
Before you get in, I'm paranoid. I'm gonna real quick check if we're recording. Say something?
something,
Okay, you're good.
Something.
Yeah, you're good. You're good. Okay. Sorry, I was being
Okay.
paranoid.
bruh. Anyways, so where was I? All right, Amazon. So it's not like you can't go pee when you want to go pee. Go fucking pee, because they're just gonna send you home if you piss your pants. Uh, but the reason it sucks is that the way that Amazon does its work, especially because I work at the grocery service, which is called Amazon Fresh. By the way, you all should look into doing that, especially because of COVID-19. But yeah, if you want to like not touch people, then make people bring it to you. But anyways, um, like so I've been. This is I think I'm coming on a year now, working at this thing, and the reason it sucks is because it's just monotonous and fucking annoying. Because you make a mistake, you won't know until like the end, and it's just because if you make a mistake or if you make a mistake, like the management won't tell you, but they're gonna be like, I'm just gonna dock that from your like they're like quality points basically. They're gonna dock that from your quality points. If I go underneath a certain threshold, I'll get fired.
Oh.
So it's just like it's just like this ever like present cycle of don't fuck up, don't fuck up.
Are you in
And also,
danger or anything?
am I in danger? No.
Okay.
But it just means that you have to be on the grind 24/7. Know what I'm saying? You gotta always be at your top.
Amen.
But no, basically, I kind of like I have to be try harding basically when I work.
Ah.
Since the work itself is monotonous and fucking taxing, because it's groceries, but occasionally what they'll do is they'll be like, all right, we're gonna condemn you to the freezer.
Oh no.
And so they give you like pants or they'll give you like freezer gear to go in there, so it's fine. But once you're in there, like especially what I did today, oh my god, I stepped in there for approximately 4 hours, and that's basically the whole shift because it's a 5 hour shift. And like I get like a 15-minute break like in between, but it's just like, ugh, it sucks. Is the pay worth it? Oh hell yeah! I get
Yeah, you guys are
15 an
getting-
hour.
You guys are getting fucking paid, dude.
Yeah, I get
Yeah,
paid.
man.
I get paid pretty well. It's 15 an hour, and I can basically choose whenever I want to work. And also, it's kind of a really flexible work. Hence the reason it's called flex, like the seasonal instead of being seasonal, it's like just flex. so it's just flexible work. I have to come in like 3 times a month, but that's fine. Like I won't get fired if I don't show from less than or more than 3, or if I just have to do 3, I'm good for a month.
Nice.
The thing. Um, but yeah, no, it's tedious work, but it pays well and it's super flexible, which is why I continue to do it.
Cool.
Honestly, I like monotonous work.
Yeah.
I like getting lost in my headspace.
So what I started doing actually is because the work is so monotonous. Is I started pulling up podcasts like ours, for example. Y'all should be listening to your podcast, but basically, I started pulling up like Lunch Club podcasts.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I'm on episode 20 right now, so that means I've listened to over 20 hours of podcasts, which freaks me out. But
Oh, dude.
but like I started doing that, and because normally I used to listen to music, but then it's just like, dude, I'd like I'd get so distracted if I listen to music,
Mm-hmm.
especially because I don't listen to, like I listen to funk. I listen to funk, or I listen to like orchestra music or J-pop. So it's like either I'm 100% in it or I'm not. So either
Yeah.
I'm falling asleep or I'm like headbanging. So it's like I needed to stop doing that, so I started listening to podcasts and stuff. So that's one reason why I enjoy the podcast format. I don't know.
Yeah.
If y'all want to talk about like working experiences and stuff.
Yeah, Jimmy, I think you were about to say something.
I was not.
Oh.
I said what I was gonna say.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know if there was anything more than that.
Sorry to disappoint.
No.
Well, Nick, I know your first job was what, Kohl's or something like
Oh,
that?
yeah, Coles. That was fun.
You want to talk a little bit about Kohl's?
Sure, I guess. It was an okay job for the most part. Like the actual work itself wasn't too bad. I had brief run-ins with a scary manager. For our sakes, we'll just call her Karen. Her name was very close, but also it's not at all Karen. But I'm just gonna call her Karen
Let's
because
call her Bertha.
no. Not like it's not like anywhere close to Karen, but it's like it's a name that sounds like Karen.
It has the same
Like
kind
it
of
has the
energy,
same kind of
the energy.
connotation, yeah. But anyway, so Karen, bro. I get there and I'm assigned. So I was hired to work the home section, like the towels and toiletries and kitchenware and anything in the home as a home department would contain. And so basically my job was restocking and folding towels that people would just fling around the store because people have no etiquette when it comes to looking at a towel, deciding they don't want it, and not like at least attempting to fold it back up. They'll just crumble it up and throw it back on the shelf. Like heathens, dude. And so like I could spend at least
You-
2 or 3 hours out of a 4 or 5 hour shift just folding towels, which was great because that's all I did. But there's one particular occasion where I was actually assigned to do toys, and I was like, that's definitely wrong because I've never said I could do that. And so I'm like, that's probably just a misprint. Obviously, like it definitely isn't. I don't know why I'm like so pressed on like, oh yeah, they made a mistake. I'm just gonna work home anyway, and then I'll move to kids if they ask me. Lo and behold, they got on the intercom and like they call my name and say, hey, could you go to toys please? And this is where Karen comes in. I go over to customer service where I am summoned, and she's like, did you read the schedule today? I'm like, yes, of course, I'm here, aren't I? And she's like, do you see what section you're working in? I'm like, yeah, I do. And he's like, so why aren't you here? I'm like, I thought somebody needed help at home. He's like, well, if somebody needed your help, they would have said so, but nobody said so. And
Oh.
typical Karen behavior. So she's like, you know what? I have something for you to do. You see that rack of baby clothes that's all disheveled? I want you to fold and make that thing look nice. And I'm like, so
Yeah.
here's where the dilemma comes in. me being a, uh, I guess, yeah, I'll call myself privileged. I've never really had to fold too many clothes in my life. Like, obviously, I have before, but not to this extent. And never baby
Mm.
clothes.
Never
Yeah,
babies. I've
it's
never
such a
folded
niche
babies.
thing.
Yeah, and so I'm like folding it like I would like a regular shirt, and the other person that's also working toys is like, "Do you need help?" I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, I do. How do you do this?" I have no idea. Like at that point, I'm not gonna be the hero and be like, "No, no, no, I got this," and make it look shitty. And so I'm like, "Yeah, can you please help?" And she helped me out, and I'm sitting there, and I'm folding, and that process alone would have taken me like 2 hours. Just like this was a mountain of baby clothes, dude, and these are like multiple shelves that, bro, I don't understand. Because if the babies are going in there and rummaging through the clothes, I guess I can understand, but also, I don't think that happens. I don't know how it just accumulated into a pile of clothes. Because that's not like a clearance bin or anything. There's no clearance bin, like, anywhere in that store.
It was definitely Karen who stacked all of those up because she didn't
Nah,
want to deal with it.
nah,
No,
boss
no,
baby king.
no. I'm talking about like the state it was in. I don't think it had been touched in like a week or something because it was just shelves on shelves of just piles, like no order to them whatsoever. But it's only baby clothes, and I'm thinking parents just like see clothes that they don't like and they just throw it on top of the pile. They don't make any effort to put it back to where it was. And so I'm like, not only am I frustrated that I have to like fold all of this stuff, I also am like internally like, God, I hate parents. I hate people who don't like have any sort of etiquette whatsoever. And, like they don't even make an
Yeah.
effort, dude. If it was like poorly folded, I'm not like that pressed because at least there is an effort made, but there is no effort made here.
Mhm.
And so I'm going. It's about an hour into me, and I'm like more than halfway done at this point. And Karen comes up to me and she's like, "Why isn't this done?" I'm like, "I'm the only one doing it, and it's almost done." And she's like, "You need to work faster." And I'm just like, "What?" And then, so like, at some point, I get like really close to being done, and I'm like, I really need to take a break. And so I do. I take my, I think it's what, 10 minutes per 4 hour, whatever. I think I take my 10, I go in the back, and somebody's like, "Hey, don't worry about Karen because she does that to literally anybody." And I'm like, "Yeah, I figured. She's not really that fun." And dude, and then I go back and I finish, and that night I'm closing, which is awful. I hate closing because it's essentially just another hour of me doing my job when nobody's there and it's dark and it's kind of scary.
Yeah.
And like, dude, it's so ominous being in a store by yourself. Well, like not like by yourself completely, but like being one of maybe four people in a store, and everything's like starting to turn off, and you finally get to see like what happens behind the scenes. It's just it was that night was it wasn't like awful though. So like that was basically the worst thing that happened to me, other than me realizing I'm really allergic to dust.
Ah,
Like like I guess what controlled amounts. Like when there's a whole lot of dust in one particular area, I completely just get sick.
mhm.
And I didn't realize
Yuck.
that that would happen until the end of my 8 hour shift, where the next person who had been working there for a while, basically a manager but not a manager, she came to me and was like, "Hey, how was your first 8 hour shift?" And I was like, "Yeah, I mean, it was fine. It was okay."
Oh.
And she was like, "Yeah, so did you dust the towels?" I'm like, "Dust the towels?"
Oh. Oh no.
I'm like, she's like, "Yeah, they get kind of dusty. Nobody really touches the ones up top for sure, and like they just kind of accumulate dust." I'm like, that makes a lot of sense, but I never thought to act on that. She's like, "Yeah, I like to come out here with a duster before all of my shifts just to make sure." I'm like, oh, that's great. That's super great to know. I go home instantly, like stuffed nose, itchy
Oh,
eyes,
the whole.
sorest throat I had had in a long time. I was like, oh my god, this is awful. And it was a running joke because a lot of my friends worked at that Kohl's. It was a running joke that they just had asbestos lined to the walls.
Yeah,
It was,
I'd
oh,
believe that.
because I mean the store wasn't dirty, but it was just like, how did I get that sick? Because that's the only thing I did all day, unless somebody came into Kohl's with like hay fever or something. But
Ooh,
it was that
yucky.
my tenure at Kohl's ended when they just completely botched my schedule. I had asked them before I started working, I'm like, hey, just to let you know preemptively, I have 3 days that I know for sure I cannot work. And I
Hmm.
specified this. I wrote it down. I'm like, these are the days that I cannot work. And um, I get my schedule for the next 2 weeks, and guess what? The only 3 days that I have to work on are on. Yeah. So, and like at that time, I was doing a show for the high school theater department. I played in the pit. Um, and so I had marked off those 3 days. I was like, hey, I can work the Saturday in like the morning because there's an evening show on Saturday, but then I can't work the Friday or Saturday the next week. But they only scheduled me on the one Friday and Saturday night. And I was like, you know what? I don't need this. So I quit.
It's true. You do not need that.
I was like, maybe in hindsight, I definitely could have been like, hey, could somebody just fill for me for these 3 days? But I also was not a part of any like group chat. I was not part, like, none of my friends did the thing that I did. None of my friends were in my department, so they couldn't work my
Right.
shift. And nobody in my department cared at all about anything.
Mm.
And just like me, like, I didn't, like, fight for spots. I didn't fight for shifts, but, like, it was weird because I never was, I don't think anybody really knew I worked there. And so, I quit. And that was
Good.
fine. I don't know. I think it let me know that I hate working retail, but also I think I could only work retail if I'm gonna do stuff like that. Because I mean, at the end of the day, retail is fine if you're not on the register. Dude, the register is the most stressful thing ever. Because oh, this is another good story. Oh,
Go for it. Go for
I
it.
made a I made a mistake. So this one couple, and like I guess they had just had a baby, right? And so they come up to me with a mountain of clothes, right? And I'm looking, I see the line, I'm like, come on. Like, because the way it works at Kohl's is like there's a line before you get to the registers for stuff like this. And so the people could go to like one or two or three different lines, or registers, I should say. And I was like trying to like calculate it so that I wouldn't be able to get the couple with the mountain of clothes and like things. And I was just unlucky. And
Mission failed.
yeah, all at the same time. It was like a really stressful, stupid VR video game. You know, like my
Dumb stuff.
the receipt paper was running low. I had no idea how to work the register itself, like how to open it and whatnot. At this point, I'm just like freaking out. And so I'm scanning, and there's so much going on. There's so much commotion. I'm just scanning clothes, and they're just dumping it on top of me. And they were so nice. They were like
Good.
as much of like like not uncomfortable, but inconvenient situation that put me in. They weren't very like they weren't snarky about it at all. They were very nice.
Yeah.
Um, but there came across an article of clothing that didn't have a tag, and I didn't know what the protocol was for that. And so I turned to the register behind me. I'm like, hey, this one doesn't have a tag. What should I do? And she's like, let me go get somebody. And she completely forgets about me, which is completely understandable. She has to worry about her own thing. But I'm like, this is awkward. So I kind of did a sneaky. I put the item that couldn't be scanned underneath the register and quote unquote forgot about it.
Nice.
Um,
Uh,
That's how you do it.
but they didn't. So they didn't pay for it or anything, but they didn't get the item either. So it wasn't like I'm like sitting there scamming them out of however much, because if they paid for it, I would have given it to them. But like I couldn't scan it. I'm so confused. I'm scared, and I just like kind of do a little. They don't need it. They got so many other pairs of pants and
mhm.
whatnot. Like these are all baby clothes, and so I just hid one, and definitely very much
One
against the
never hurt.
rules. Yeah, very against the rules, but also it wasn't like they noticed. It was like it was like super inconsequential at the end of the day. And
Mhm.
I know that's not the thing to do. I'm sure there is a protocol for that. But I also didn't want to call up E4 for a article of baby clothing at a very busy day because it was like Saturday or something. It had to have been. And so, yeah, that's kind of my experience at Kohl's. It was fine. I don't know. I do actually want to get into something John brought up about
Huh?
the podcasts and stuff.
Oh,
Yeah.
Podcasts we listen to. So I'll kind of ask, what other podcasts do you guys listen to?
Um. Oh
Or have
gosh.
you listened to? Like, have
if
you
you want,
gone
I
through
can
phases? Yeah, you can go for it.
I can start. So I've listened to mainly like three one like, and the reason I listen to a couple of, okay, there's one main one I listen to. I've hopped on train for one, and I've heard one of the other one. The one that I listen to most is called the Lunch Club. It's the Lunch Club podcast, and it's done by
The
basically
Lunch
like
Club.
the, yeah, the Lunch Club. It's like Call Me Carson and like uh Jay Schlatt and Slimesicle, etc., and that gang and Travis, etc. But it's like, the reason I listen to them is not because, oh, they're popular YouTuber. It's mostly because they're in our age group. Like, I think Travis is still 19.
Yeah, they're in our age group and they're
They're
doing the things that we like doing.
Yeah, like,
They're making livings doing things that we wish we could make livings off of.
yeah.
I guess like internally, like I don't know if I'd ever want to make YouTube or Twitch or anything a career,
I
because
personally, yeah.
that's
I
like
mean,
that would mean like throwing a lot of things away that I want to
oh
do.
yeah. Hmm.
But it's kind of cool seeing people in our age group, because we used to only idolize like I don't know,
PewDiePie.
PewDiePie, I guess,
I
Smosh,
don't know. It's
stuff like
just,
that.
I mean, I grew up watching YouTube, so it was just like watching people in our age group, like in our age group, just become popular and make tons of money. It just kind of drew me to listen to what they would talk about, basically.
Hmm.
And I'm gonna be honest, it's exactly like what we do here. It's
Have
like,
we are heavily inspired.
well, not even that. It's just they'll be like, "Yo, we don't know what to talk about, so we're just gonna keep talking about stuff that we did," or like they'll talk up. Like, there was an episode where they were in, I think it was like New Zealand or something like that, because
They're
they
in,
went to go
yeah,
see, I think it's
Misfits.
the Misfits. Yeah,
yeah.
they went to go see the Misfits, and they were like, "Yeah, all the buildings here are ugly," and then they started arguing like, "No, it's beautiful here," and and then
Yeah,
Schlatt's like,
stuff like
"Yeah,
that.
it's freaking," or Schlatt's like, "It's beautiful," and then I think Carson's like, "Oh no, Schlatt said it was ugly," and then Carson's like, "No, it's not," and he was like, "Yes." Schlatt's like, "It's uninspired, etc." But it's like the kind of arguments that I feel like I would get into. Like, I don't know, it's just super funny, and it's kind of like I can relate to a lot of what they talk about. So that's one of the reasons why I listen to them. Also because I enjoy their content on YouTube. But besides
True.
that, um, the other one I used to listen to, not a lot, but it was something I got me started podcast listen to podcasts, was the H3 podcast, like H3 podcast,
Hmm.
because it used to
Classic.
be that. Yeah, it used to be that like YouTube was like the big thing, and then they started doing the podcast. I was like, I wonder what it's like. It's like, oh, these are 1 hour videos. I'm like, no, you turn these on and then just do whatever. Like, oh, so I listened to like maybe like the first couple episodes, and then I stopped because their content just got boring. Um,
Yeah.
but I come back and they're still doing it, and that's how they're making most of their money. I'm like, oh, that's cool for them, I guess.
Yeah.
Because I think Joe Rogan or something like that switched to Spotify full time
I don't think so. I think
or something
Apple
like his
Music.
or something some other streaming service that's not YouTube. So
It's
like
got to
they're
be
he's
Apple Music or something.
yeah he so after that I think H3 took over as like the YouTube podcast.
Yeah.
Um, and then I listened to the Alex or fuck Alex
Alex
Jones.
Jones. Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, I listened to mainly because I just like listening to his voice and get like listening to him getting mad is the funniest thing to me. It's like
Yeah. I can see that.
it's just super funny. So I'd like listen in. I wouldn't even be listening to like their topics. It's just whenever he got mad, he's like,
Rah!
"Rah!" It's just like angry. That's why I like just tuned in. But
Yeah.
he did like he brought up some stuff, but it was like I don't agree with what he says mainly because I don't share the same
Bro,
beliefs as him.
he's
I just don't. He's
I don't know where
crazy.
he lies on the political spectrum.
It's hard to tell. I just know
He's
he's nuts.
I have trouble calling him Republican because he's super. I guess I want to say he's like libertarian.
I guess.
I don't know. I don't want to get into politics,
Yeah.
but
But those
yeah.
are the three that I've listened to. I have probably more out there because I do look for stuff. Like there's a food podcast I think I used to listen to. I forgot the name because I forgot what they talked about. It was like they had like a couple episodes, and then I just turn it on while I'm playing either like Minecraft or something like that. But it was back in the good old days,
True.
2015 I think is when I listened to them.
Wow.
But like I just remember
Nice.
the Lunch Club more because that's what I listened to like today.
Yeah.
How about you guys?
Jimmy, do you have any?
Yeah. I like Joe Rogan's podcast a lot.
Ah,
I just like how much he invests in the person he's interviewing. Let's see what else. do I
Jamie, can
listen-
you pull up a video of that deer?
Huh?
what?
Nothing.
Oh. Oh, okay.
What's Joe Rogan?
I listened to Rhett and Link's podcast.
Oh,
Good
Earbiscuits.
bit,
Oh
actually.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. The show the main show that you was like Good Mythical Morning, right?
I love. I actually really like Good Mythical Morning.
I used to watch them a lot, and then like I just got sick of their content. Not that they produce bad content. I just got sick of it.
I don't know if I got sick. It's just I saw less and less of it in my recommended, and I didn't seek to go look for it. All right, that sounded weird. I didn't seek the content as much, but they still make really good stuff. I really like their Will It videos. Their Will
Oh,
It
of
series
course.
is great. Any other
Yeah.
podcasts?
Gosh.
The American Brass Band.
Yeah.
Early American Brass Band.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the early American Brass Band. Mainly because I have friends that run the podcast, and it's
Yeah.
not like a popular podcast or anything. But I turn it on
Come on.
and then I practice.
We're not a popular podcast. Come on.
Hey, you don't
Our
know-
viewers are us.
Hey, one day this thing's gonna explode while we're not looking, and then we're gonna become famous viral YouTubers.
And then we're not gonna do the podcast anymore. No, just kidding.
I like how before we even started the like YouTube channel, we made a podcast.
Yeah, you know,
We
I
did
think
it backwards, but
dude-
the hope is there.
podcast.
Hope is there, I guess.
There's the we're gonna come up with a group gaming channel. We're gonna be called
Schlumpcast.
the
Gaming.
Business Venture.
Right.
Yeah.
Comment down below if we should make a gaming channel.
Yeah.
Oh
Please
yeah.
don't actually.
If
But
you're
if you want
listening
to,
down below, if you're listening right now,
If you're listening down below,
if you're commenting now, no, if you're
please.
listening now, if you've made it this far in our dumb fucking podcast, comment how your day was, because we're not gonna read
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
I'll
Just
read them.
kidding. Yeah.
I'll read them.
let us know. Like jobs, what your day looks like,
Yeah, all your
Yeah.
social
just
security
social security.
Yeah.
numbers of the family
Your
credit card.
address, where you went
I'll be
to
sure to
school,
dox you.
your where the street you were raised on, your mother's maiden name,
All right. I think that's enough
Your
with
pet's
that,
name.
Major.
your mom.
Sir,
Uh,
All right.
please, we need to
So,
move on.
I can talk about my podcast if
Yeah, talk
Timmy
about your
is fine
Yeah, I'm
with
done.
it. Okay.
Thunderbunk.
So I actually have a list of podcasts that I frequent. As you mentioned, Lunch Club podcast. Let me
What
see all
episode
the
are you on?
podcasts. I'm up to date.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm
So,
way behind.
I wanted to bring it up. So, here's the other podcasts that I used to frequent or frequent still. Um, Dynamic Banter, Tiny Meat Gang podcast, Lunch Club, Beyond the Pine, Going in Raw, What's Good, Talk is Jericho, and yeah, that's about it.
So
Hmm.
you listen to way more than I do.
So yeah, so I want to freshman year of college, first semester. All I would do, because I didn't talk to anybody, I wasn't part of any like clubs or anything. I wasn't part of anything outside of me just going to campus. All I would do was listen to podcasts. And the one podcast that got me through the first semester of that time was Dynamic Banter. They have now that I'm on episode 209.
Ah.
I'm up to date. I was going in reverse chronological order, which makes no sense. I didn't start at the beginning of the podcast. I was going from the one that I can't remember what number I saw first. It was like somewhere in the early 100s, I want to say. But I went back as episodes started coming out. I would listen to that the Friday it came out, and then go back and go listen in reverse chronological order. And so I was hearing a lot of bits and jokes already develop, and then I would get to the point where they create the joke, and I'm like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. Because this is like the way this podcast is set up. In particular, it's two friends that used to work at the same company that shut down, and now they have a podcast, and now it's like comedy based. One of them's actually a stand-up comedian. The other one still makes videos on another channel, the Valley Folk. If any of you have heard of that.
Wait,
yeah,
I have heard of that.
Valley Folk. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Steve from Valley Folk and another character, Mike Falzone. Very funny. The two of them together are hilarious. They got a dynamic. Well, part of the name, right? They've got such a nice dynamic because one of them is loud, and the other one hates it, and so it's super funny, to me at least. And I definitely recommend that
Yeah.
to anyone. It's called Dynamic Banter. Also, Tiny Meat Gang podcast. If you are familiar with Tiny Meat Gang. It's just I personally enjoy their humor a lot too, because they're like much more scaled back, but I guess it's smart, stupid humor, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Hmm.
It's a lot of their humor is like sex, haha, fart, LMAO, right? But then they also have like insane, smart bits of humor and whatnot. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it.
It's nice to have that balance.
Yeah. And so, yeah, definitely podcasts have saved saved me from so much just idle silence, because as a musician, when you're exposed to music all the time, pretty much 24/7, especially in the middle of a college curriculum, I kind of get sick of listening to music. And not like I kind of get sick of the academia style of music, and I find myself analyzing music and not enjoying it, or at least I found myself like now. I don't really have that issue too much because I've kind of gotten over like, oh, I know what this means now. Wah. But I and there was definitely a time where I really couldn't and didn't want to listen to music a lot, so podcasts were the thing.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I don't know. Like I listen. I guess like the reasoning is similar because I listen to podcasts because I hate my job. So
Yeah.
that's it.
They are definitely great for doing chores and such. I
Yeah.
threw a couple on. Now I'm starting to pack and move and clean and whatnot. And so I definitely will see a lot of podcast listening in my future here in the next couple of weeks. Which it hasn't dawned on me, but next week is when we can actually start moving. Well, I guess not next week. About 10 days from now.
Mhm.
I thought I had a lot more time to pack than I did. But, well,
Tis the way of
this be the way of life. Frisbee the way of life. Anyway.
see, Senor.
Frisbee.
Frisbee life.
Frisbee.
Yo, y'all
Yeah.
ever play Ultimate?
Ultimate? Oh!
Ultimate
Yeah,
Frisbee?
dude, you ever
Yeah.
toss the disc, dude?
Yo, let's
Yeah,
toss
dude.
the plastic plate.
I love Frisbee.
I admire people that can play Frisbee because
Kinda.
the amount of precision that takes, I envy. Because I am as accurate. I'm not accurate.
So, fun fact. I can actually toss a frisbee pretty well.
Cool. I
Uh,
can't.
No, the reason. Well, I kind of just said it as like a joke,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
the kind of reason why I kind of can throw a frisbee question mark is because I have a friend. You guys know him. He's a guitar player, uh, classical guitar player. I have a friend that I've known since like middle school, and basically he was super into it, and I just thought it was really funny. So I think it was one day in PE. I was just like, I'm just gonna actually learn how to throw this thing. So I just kept throwing the disc. I just kept tossing the plastic plate. Eventually, like, okay, I don't know if y'all know me, but I'm super lazy and I get tired really easily. Lo and behold, go to a doctor like years later. Hey, you have asthma. I'm like, oh, but
Oh.
but yeah, uh, like it's just super funny because I just stand there and throw the disc. That's all they would ask me to do whenever we played that game. Played Ultimate. She's like, all right, you start with disc. All right, go. And and a freaking lightning
Okay,
shotgun,
go.
super duper shotgun blast frisbee throw.
As you do.
That's the only thing I pride myself on. And any sport realm is how I can throw a frisbee.
Hey,
But yeah,
that's
I
dope.
don't know.
Yeah, I
Speaking of sports, y'all play sports?
used to.
Yeah.
Okay.
Frisbee, soccer.
I mean football.
I was super invested in soccer.
Mm. Yeah, you kind of
Played a lot.
I feel like you give off that soccer player vibe.
Were you a
You definitely have like
striker,
a
a
build for it.
midfield, a defender? What were you?
uh, Midfield slash defense.
Okay.
I kind of went
Yeah.
back and forth.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I don't know.
Just because I ran a lot.
Yeah, yeah. Because those dudes gotta run. They gotta be on both sides of the ball at all times. He's
I'm
dumb.
assuming you didn't do track, right?
Me?
Yeah.
I did not do track. I wanted to though.
hmm Yeah,
Hmm.
because a lot of people ask me to do track too, and I'm just like, dude, I could barely do a mile, and if I do a mile, it takes me like 23 minutes.
Dude, I have a slow ass fucking mile, dude.
Dude, my mile was atrocious.
I remember a track unit in PE where we did, bro. It was kind of embarrassing, dude. I was a pretty pudgy kid,
I'm
uh,
still a pudgy man.
but like I would like
Like a superhero.
I hadn't got tall yet, but I like to say that like I I gained all of my weight and then I got tall. And so
Yeah, yeah,
I was a square for a while,
yeah.
and it was
Wide Nick.
pretty much I was just condensed, and so dude, when the I can't remember if this was eighth or ninth grade. I think it was ninth. It had to have been. Um, because like my school is a secondary school, so uh, middle and high school are in the same building, and so we do the same things sometimes in terms of PE and whatnot. I think this was I think this was middle school, cause I remember being always last or second to last in races like that. I would line up. I would try to like in my head give myself ego boosts and then still lose, like being a I don't know. I was just trying to make myself not be last and still was last all the time. And
Man,
so
Y'all had Pacers?
that yeah, I was really bad at Pacers until my last year of PE where I finally broke 50.
Nice.
Yeah.
dude, whenever I did the pacer, people would meme me because I do like two and give up.
Dude,
um,
I was very much like teens until high school.
no, the reason why people memed me when in high school and like middle school was because I also went to secondary school. Um, but whenever we did like stuff like pacer or push up or sit up like that, those kind of tests, I do as little as I could and see if I didn't get in trouble. And so I do. I remember one year I did the pacer. I didn't even do one. I just gave out. I gave out halfway through the pit.
Cuz
Um.
yeah, at a point they start grading you on progress.
Yeah. I had. I forgot what my grade was. It just was not good. But they also realized at some point something was wrong with me, and I'll bet I didn't know it. So they always graded me fairly.
Oh, that's good.
Um.
Nice.
I like because I'd always be out of breath. Like even if we did like the stupidest, like nothing, like this should be nothing for you. Like you should be having no time, dude. I'd be walking outside to PE and I'm just sweating. Like oh
Dude.
man, that was good
Yeah.
work. Um,
Yeah.
but like I remember one of my friends was like, dude, like I bet you can't do. I think it was I forgot what the number was. I think it was like 55 or something like that, and he bet me like $15. It's like, you better eat your words, bitch. And so for once, I took the pacer seriously, um, and I hit 55,
Oof.
and I remember I hit 55 and I fell.
Oh.
I fucking collapsed. It was so funny because everyone was clapping. It's like whoa, whoa. Because the joke has always been, and this was like the last year I did PE, but the joke was always, dude, he's only gonna do like one or two and then give up. But I did 55. And
Yo,
Yeah, man.
everyone was like freaking out. I was like, "What the fuck?" Ah!
dude.
Also, this was the year that I got into bodybuilding, but that's for a different story.
Oh.
Uh, but this is like I was like the most healthiest I'd ever been,
Huh.
um, and it was just freaking funny because everyone's like applauding. I think the gym, the coach was applauding too, and I got $15, and then I blacked out.
Bro, really? Dude, all
Yeah,
of our PE teachers hated kids.
no, so you know me as the funny laughter trickster as today, but it all
Uh-huh.
started in middle school, high school. So I was really friendly terms. People called me a bitch because basically eat a teacher's ass out just so I don't make enemies, and that's what I did. And I didn't make any
That's
enemies. And
smart. That's
a lot of the
smart.
teachers liked me, and so when I did that, the PE teacher, because he was really nice for his name, probably got fired. But he was like,
Oh,
"Hell yeah!" It was like the first time I heard him say something like that too.
that's
But
really funny.
the class was like, "Whoa, whoa!" It was like one of those like if you ever watch like esports,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Y'all
yeah,
ever
it's like one of
watch
those like the
esports?
clutch plays. I was like, "Whoa, pentakill! Whoa!"
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Bro, no, all of our teachers hated kids, man. We had one, and like at the end of the day, she wasn't actually that bad. She was just loud. But bro, we had one PE teacher that, like, in an earlier era, definitely would have used slurs
Ah,
and stuff. Probably just because it was acceptable, or
mhm.
not acceptable, but tolerable to like make fun of people, like either fat shame or sexuality shame and whatnot. Kind of that she gave off that kind of vibe. It turns out she's really not that bad. She's just disgruntled because she's been working the same job probably for a long time, and
I
kids
get that.
kids just disrespect her, and it's annoying. It, you get to a point where you see people like try to clown the teacher, and it's not funny anymore.
Yeah.
It's because there's always like if the teacher's kind of in on it, then yeah, go for it. Because I had an English teacher my senior year, and like we would kind of meme her and stuff, but she'd go along with it. She'd meme us right back, and it was funny. It was just that kind of dynamic. But if a teacher is obviously not like that, just seeing kids be disrespectful for the sake of being
Disrespecting.
disrespectful is kind of disheartening. I don't know. I don't know what soapbox that I just climbed up on, but yeah, I saw that a whole lot in PE because that was like prime opportunity to clown anyone.
Fuck
Yeah.
bullying. Honestly, fuck bullies.
Yeah, man,
Anyone who doesn't have like the guts to actually just like
fight.
talk to you and be like,
Yeah, yeah.
oh, not even that, just
No, I
talk to
know,
you.
I know.
But like, it's just like
Ridiculous. No,
it's ridiculous how kids can treat each other like shit.
it's ridiculous how kids can treat each other for the sake of getting laughs. And I fell victim to that. I definitely was like I learned kind of quick that I have to come back with something. And if I came back with something that would make people laugh, people would stop. And eventually did people did stop. And
Mhm.
you kind of get into that point where you're like kind of I guess respected.
Mhm.
It's very
Yeah.
weird. But
Yeah. Respect.
Oh,
it's you come at a point where now what you're saying are jokes because now we're all in on it.
right.
But there was a point where you could call it bullying.
Mhm.
I don't know. It's definitely a situational thing, and I feel like uh, is I don't know if it ever starts off genuinely like, hey, I want to joke with this guy. I don't know.
Mhm.
I guess it's kind of a test in the waters kind of thing.
Right.
And then people just take it a step further and continue to bully even though it's they know it's like it's not fun for the other one and people get off on that, which is super weird to me.
So yeah,
Yeah.
something that happened to me growing up, or especially in like the middle school time, was I got bullied, um, but there was a point in time where I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna get super popular, or I'm gonna become so well known that they're gonna bully me, and then people are gonna fucking throw a riot, right?
Yo,
So
that's the play.
that's that's what I did. Was everyone knew who I was, like especially at my school, because um, I don't know, like a lot of people call me the jokester nowadays, but still, like that's where it started. Was like I tried really, really hard to become likable in people's eyes, so that when people black that treated me like shit in middle school look back, they're like, oh, oh, because eventually did get my vendetta, and that was sometime I think like junior or something like that. But at that point, it was like people knew who I what a lot of people knew who I was. I was super popular with a lot of crowds, and I got really close with a lot of teachers, and so um, once I knew where I stood, I was just like, you know what, I'm gonna talk about this, what happened, and then I talked about it.
Yeah.
And then they got in trouble, and then I was like, hey, eat shit. And then I went John Cena, and I just, you can't see me.
Dude, yeah. I think at a point, I kind of realized that if I'm funny, people won't bully me,
Mm-hmm.
and so I tried my hardest to be funny. It didn't work for a while. Like
Oh,
elementary
it's a
school
lot.
was
Yeah,
definitely
it,
the worst,
it's definitely like a long card game.
because yeah, you got to play it the long con kind of thing. Because there's also a point where even if you are funny, people won't laugh
Mm-hmm.
because you've already got the stigma like this guy's just annoying and not funny, so you can't laugh because you just feel his fire.
Not funny, didn't laugh.
Yeah, literally. And so at a point, finally get into middle school where I meet an entirely new group of friends, and I still communicate with them to this day. Finally, I found a place where my humor could be at least matched, and it kind of like synced well. We had phases in our group where we would did you guys call insulting Jones? Like you would Joan on somebody?
No.
Okay. Cuz
I've
we
not heard of that.
okay,
Yeah, never heard
so
of that.
I guess the slang in at my high school was we would Joan on people, and everybody would be or someone would be
Wow, that's dumb.
yeah, it's kind of dumb. It sounds so
I'm
stupid.
kidding.
No, but no, like in hindsight it's kind of just weird that we would say Joan. But I guess it's kind of it rolls off the tongue a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so we would Joan on people, and there would be a designated Joni, I guess, the person receiving the Joan.
Joner. That just sounds bad.
Disgusting.
Yeah, so somebody would be uh, the guy that always getting Joaned, and that was me for a year. And then I started to come back finally with like actual funny things, and they're like, okay, we don't need to mess with this guy anymore. It always happened to be like either the newest person we add to the group, and some people would take it super personally. I think I got out of it because I learned at a point they're not actually they don't actually dislike me. They're just doing it to see if I react a certain way, and then I just completely flipped how I would react and just come back with something else.
Well, okay. I get why that would happen, but that's such a toxic.
It is. It's super. Like in hindsight, I'd probably rather not having had to go through that, but also it kind of, also in hindsight, you learn that that is toxic, and you learn to never do that again.
Hmm.
And I think, like, obviously, I don't think I'd go back and change anything that I've ever experienced.
Right.
And so, regardless of me being the target of insults in a group of friends, it didn't really matter because at a point I stopped taking it personally. Obviously, there are jokes that slip through and kind of get me the wrong way, um,
Hmm.
but that kind of happens with a lot of people. Like, and the people that will attack you personally don't know how to joke around.
Right. Uh,
Like people who point out insecurities and try
mhm.
to frame it in the shape of a joke. I've never vibed well with that because that's not
Mhm.
funny. That's just like regardless of how the other person receives it, I don't think I don't think that's on the table to be joked around about.
Yeah. And yeah, I feel like knocking someone down to the floor is like the worst thing you could do to someone mentally.
Oh yeah, no, like trying to belittle somebody or point out a glaring something about
Yeah,
somebody.
it's like a flaw or something, or
It,
just
it doesn't
something
even
that
have to
they.
be a flaw, just like a
Mhm.
characteristic or something. It's like, well, what do you want me to do about it now? That's kind of my reaction whenever I'm the target of a joke about something I'm a little insecure about. Like even
Right.
today, I'm like, well, what do you want me to do about this? Like you want me to
Mhm.
just like whatever? I don't know.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh, I hear two of the fates.
how are we doing on time? I'm just curious.
Um, Let me check. This will come up in the podcast, by the way, because I don't have a dual monitor setup. We've been going about 54 minutes.
Okay. Well, in a positive way, that kind of talking more on how I became like really well known in high school, trying to be more positive and like a more positive perspective on being like well known, was I had hella antics, and by that I mean like I did the stupidest
I
stuff.
thought you were about to say. I'm sorry. I'm gonna cut you off. I thought you were. Saying, I had hella ass.
No, 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 no. I mean, I'm not gonna say that's false, but
I'm
um,
sorry.
so I had hella antics, and by that I mean there was always something like, and this would be like I'd be like Joshy in class, but there was always something that I did that got the attention of people, and it'd either be for a good thing or it'd be for a funny thing. It was never like, oh fuck you, you smell like donkey, I never do stuff like that. Basically, like I remember, like the earliest thing that got me like well known was I was just chilling right with a bunch of friends in the back of my I think it was my Japanese class, and she was talking in Japanese as per usual, and she was talking about how she wanted to reward the class, and I just fucking stood up and said, "Movie time." And I said I refuse to sit down unless we watch a movie. And so
Mm.
it was like 15 minutes of me and her bickering back and forth. She thought it was funny because the way I was arguing was like, no, 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 we're gonna watch this movie, and I said we're gonna watch. I think it was Totoro or something. And it's like,
Oh,
no, we're gonna watch Totoro whether you like it or not. And I'm gonna sit here. Oh, I'm gonna stand here until you say yes. And she kept arguing with me, but she was laughing. But she was like, okay. It's like, ah, ha, ha, okay, okay. And then she gave up. She gave him, it's like, all right, next class, we will watch Totoro. And I was like, hell yeah. And I sat down. And then it's just like antics, because I do stuff like that all the time. It's just like fight with teachers over stuff like that. And when the other thing that stands out to me that I did with something like that was, teacher was like, hey man, we're gonna do like a celebration, but we're thinking about just watching like a movie like Shrek. And I was like, no, I stood up. I was like, nah, we're making quesadillas. And teacher says, what? Why? And I was like, I just want quesadillas. We're making quesadillas. We're not watching Shrek. And she was
Okay.
like, man, I don't know. I don't think we're allowed to do that. I was like, I'm gonna show up just with cheese tortillas. And then people started getting. I was like, yeah, I'll bring some chicken and stuff. And so it became like this huge class effort to make quesadillas.
Yo.
And so we ended up making quesadillas. And then because we made so many, I started delivering them to other teachers.
Yo.
So that's
Nice.
that's like stuff that I did.
Reputation.
Yeah, no, that gave me plus 10 charisma. No, I have max charisma.
You
would
max
say.
charisma. So much
But no,
speech.
it's just I do stuff like that, and that's what like be friendly with teachers and be friendly with classmates. If I really had an issue with someone, I wasn't the kind of person to like hold it in and be like, "Listen, man, you need to shut the fuck up." Like I'd say shit to people like that to people. And it
God,
was
I
like,
wish I could.
I don't know. Like I'm a pretty blunt guy, which is not like blunt as in, but blunt as in like, um,
Oh, I thought you were talking about weed.
that's what I'm. No, like I don't
I
really.
know.
Yeah,
I'm
you all
kidding.
get what I mean by blunt, but like, yeah, that's really what got me in the radar of everyone. So that's why a lot of people knew who I was.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I definitely was not like that. I guess with a couple teachers, I was definitely the.
The clown.
No, no, no. Well, for a couple, for a select few teachers, where when I was enabled, I could be funny with a teacher, but most of the time, I just kind of showed up to class.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know, uh, junior year, my AP Lang class, that teacher was phenomenal. Oh my god, I loved him to death. He had nicknames for everybody in the class. He would start the class off every day with first and foremost, how you doing, and everybody would actually answer, and it was dope. He had he remembers everybody that he's ever taught, pretty much. Um, and I've never written better essays in any class than in that one. Because he was like, I'm not going to assign you guys homework unless it's like reading. Because I'm not going to make you guys write stuff at home. because that's kind of stupid. That's not gonna be what's on the exam. He was teaching to the exam while also teaching us other things. Like we read Grapes of Wrath and Great Gatsby and stuff like that. That class was so cool. I missed that class so much. But before we would do essays, he would go around the room and ask people if they had jokes. And I always had a couple up my sleeve at some points.
Nice.
Get a couple little W's here and there. But yeah, that class, I think I will. If you mention like class clown, because I was also in that class with a bunch of my best friends, and it wasn't. It was very funny because I had one friend who was like the Republican of our school, but wasn't like MAGA Republican. He was a smart Republican, and so um, we did a presentation for the end of the year. I don't know if it was the final or whatnot. It was part of it, but we went in there with a pretty controversial topic. I don't know if it was pretty controversial. It's definitely a topic that not everybody agrees on. And looking back on it, we kind of just went in there full pathos and didn't really give a whole lot of logic. Our entire argument was based on a very, very unlikely hypothetical. It was why free college can't work.
Right.
And so we had an idea because we can tell ourselves that free college can't work because of whatever government we have installed. And I don't know. And we used a hypothetical that didn't really help our argument. We just kind of threw it out there. And it wasn't really that, but the thing was we were both pretty well spoken to where even if the point really didn't match what we were trying to argue, it kind of sounded like we knew what we were talking about.
Yeah, double speak.
Yeah. Circumlocution.
Cumulonimbus.
Something like that.
No, stuff like that. I learned a lot about debate in that class for some reason.
Oh, AP Lang? Yeah.
Yeah. It was fun. That class was dope.
Did you have Socratic circles?
For the summer assignment, yeah. It was very funny because I didn't really read the book, but I ended up getting an A because our circle had been talking about something that specifically I had written down, and I went in there and like I would like to add, and it was fucking flawless.
Dude, we are the same person. I think our curriculum is literally almost the exact same thing. We had a Socratic circle reading. It was a book reading.
Mm-hmm.
And the Socratic circle was about an argument about like some take on the book, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I read a little bit.
Right.
The only reason I ended the class with an A was because the teacher was nice, and for our end of year group projects, me and my best friend working on it, which was a very bad idea in hindsight because we didn't do any work except for one late night. But our last group project was a presentation on a book, right?
Right.
And we had to identify a bunch of things that happened with the book, and then like analyze it and whatnot,
Mm-hmm.
and put together a PowerPoint. So, for whatever reason, we lucked out so much that we got the very last day of school to present.
Pog.
There was no one in class. Not no one. There were like 6 people in class because it's like the last day of school and whatever.
Oh.
And we presented, and we were like as passionate as we could be about it. And it's just like, you know, a presentation on hot garbage, but you just gotta really love that garbage.
Oh,
You gotta be the trash man, dude.
Dude, you gotta be the garbage man. Yeah, had a lot about a lot of stuff like that. Oh, I remember similarly in a sophomore year. We kind of did the same thing in 10th grade where we all picked a topic and we had to argue it in about like a 5 minute speech or whatnot. And I did Why Free College Can't Work again because, or well, I did free college in 10th grade, and then in 11th grade, I'm like, hey, I did this last year. Didn't really work out so well. You want to do it again? And yeah, sure. Why not? But, dude, I surrounded myself with the wrong people because the topics these people picked were, like, at least with mine, and admittedly, I had no idea what I was talking about. I did this speech maybe the night before, and even like in preparation, like, leading up to my actual presentation, and it was reading from my phone, and it was a very
I love that.
number heavy, just spitting out numbers of just. This is exactly why Bernie Sanders da 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 da. And one of my friends, he I think the only rule for that class was you couldn't argue about abortion. Or no. No, that was 11th grade. 11th grade, we weren't allowed to argue about abortion. That was the only thing that was off limits. But somebody did why gay marriage shouldn't exist.
Hmm.
Didn't go so well. He failed. Well, I don't know if he failed the assignment, but he definitely didn't get a good grade on it because, number one, he realized that day he's like, this was a fucking mistake. And obviously, that's like the worst thing. Right now, that's the
That's the
worst.
worst thing that I would take on.
Yeah. If it's not, yes, I'm in favor, then you shouldn't, especially then. And so this dude is stuttering. And I feel so bad because all I can do is like put my hands in front of my mouth and just kind of like, oh no, because I don't want to be like overly emotive because I don't want to give him any reason why he shouldn't fulfill the requirements on the assignment. But when you're arguing a take like that, and then somebody else did something very controversial. I feel like he did abortion. One of my friends did abortion. I had pretty weird friends.
Mm.
I had pretty not pretty, I guess, edgy friends. Cuz they weren't, I don't know if they were actually, if they actually thought that way or if they just said it for shock. But then they realized day of, like, this is the stupidest thing I could have ever done because now I'm in a classroom full of people who dislike me and don't agree with me. And so, yeah, that day was so. In hindsight, that's so funny because the dude really just dug himself a hole, didn't make any attempts to get out, and he just went through. I kind of commend him for doing it, but also at the same time, condemn what he said. Because his main thing was Christianity, and that holds almost no weight in a classroom, let alone any other debate. And so, I don't know.
Yeah.
It was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
It was a very weird day. I don't know.
Mm.
Anybody else have some pretty weird champ school stories before we wrap up the podcast?
Uh, no, not really. I mean, like, normally I'd be the one doing weird champ stuff, so
Right.
it wasn't even like my weird champ stuff was like kosher.
Right. Yeah, yeah.
So it would mostly just be like the antics I did, not the actual content.
Oh, I remembered something. And we could end this. We could end the podcast here if you guys want.
Sure.
Um,
Unless Jimmy wants to say something.
No.
so
Oh,
here, I don't know what triggered this memory, but I guess Weird Champ did. Um, Dude. Okay, so it wasn't something I specifically had done to somebody, but I'll just lay the scene out. We're at lunch, right? And we're sitting outside because they let us sit outside in these courtyards. And they're like walled off. They're like within the building.
Yeah, prison.
There used to be smoking areas for when kids were allowed to smoke. Um, but now there's lunch tables out there and whatnot. We were eating outside. It was a nice day. We were like throwing stuff into the trash can, like basketball and whatnot. And someone threw something in the trash can, but me, being the defender that I am, I swat it out of the air. I'm like, nope, it's not going in. Next thing I hear, splat, and a bunch of girls start screaming. I'm like, huh? What just happened? And I look over. It is the entire field hockey team sitting there, covered in, well, not, I guess not covered, but there's one spot of the table and a couple of people, and they're all dressed up because I think they had a game that day. And I don't know if this was a thing at your school, but our teams, sports teams, dressed up really nice the day of their games. And you can imagine marinara sauce all over the table.
What I'm more concerned about is how did you slap the marinara sauce and not get exploded all over you?
I think I just hit the bottom of it. So, if you can imagine, somebody throwing the marinara in the trash can, and then I swat it. I guess I hit it up and to the table adjacent to us. And, everybody at the table looked at me like, what the fuck did you just do? And I'm sitting there like, I'm trying to feign ignorance. I'm like, what just happened? Whoa, that was crazy.
Yeah.
Joe, sick prank, bro.
So, these dudes, fuck these guys. Because, like, the people sitting at that table, not all of them were part of, like, the friend group. Mm-hmm. And so, a lot of them ratted me out. Huh. I stood up, I try to apologize. In the middle of the courtyard, I get slapped by, I guess, the team captain.
Oh.
And I think this was like the first day. It was the first or second day of school. And I'm just like mortified. Because not only is my first experience in high school me being slapped in front of all of my friends and a lot of people that I don't know, but this is going to be their first memory of me. I'm like ridiculed, and this person went on Twitter at the end of the day and just started subtweeting me and saying all this stuff, and then I comment like, "Look, I apologize. I don't know what you want me to do." She deletes all of her tweets, and I'm like, "Okay, so you were just talking shit because you didn't know I could see it. Cool. I know what kind of person you are, and I didn't like her." And now I'm like, you know what? I don't really care. And one of my friends really stood up for me. He really went to bat for me. And I thank him for that, because that whole situation was so... It didn't have to expand out more than what had happened at lunch, but she continued to make it a thing. And it was at the end of the at the end of the day, it's so funny. It's just so funny. I feel bad. I sincerely meant, like, I didn't mean for that to happen, but come on. It wasn't a smart thing to swat anything out of the air because I had no idea what it was. Because I had no idea he was throwing a packet of marinara sauce. But from that moment on, I just kind of started playing just a support role, just kind of throwing a couple laughs here and there, and not really draw too much attention to myself because I didn't really like the taste of the limelight too much.
Yeah.
Looks like we're opposites then, huh?
Yeah, I didn't like drawing attention to myself at all.
I don't know.
No.
But that was a very funny story. very amusing.
Yeah.
I've
Well,
definitely done something like that. Is the problem, and
yeah.
then, but however, because of my status as well-known guy, I've definitely gotten away with it, which I don't think was fair at all. Because I apologize for shit like that. Because in the end, it is my fault.
Yeah.
Um, but it's like what I don't understand is I'm a guy that forgives pretty easily,
Mm-hmm.
and to me, it makes no sense when people grudge over something small.
Oh yeah, dude. Like I don't think she ever liked me, and she definitely never talked good about me. And I had really no interactions with her before then, or even after.
Mhm.
And I mean, whatever. If she's, I I think I will give her the benefit of the doubt, obviously, because it's been almost 6 years at this point.
Oh,
And so, like, obviously, I'm not assuming that she still even knows who I am at this point. But it was
Yeah.
just so
And
funny.
then she's gonna kill you in your sleep.
Yeah, man,
Huh?
she's coming for me. I've got
like, Nick, I
6
remember
days.
what you did freshman year, 2000.
She
Whatever the
already
shit it was.
slapped me. She's already vindicated. She's won essentially. She won the battle or the war,
Nah,
I
she
guess.
wants to win. She wants to
She
end your
wants she
whole
wants
career.
to absolutely annihilate and eliminate
See,
me.
what's gonna happen is you're gonna be doing a job application, and they're gonna be like, "All right, look behind the curtain," and it's her, and she's gonna slap you again.
This is your test of might.
1v1.
We've got a little bit of unorthodox way of job applications. Anyway, I don't know. I think that's a good place to wrap things up. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Anybody else have anything they'd like to add or plug?
I stream Mario 64 runs at twitch.tv/thickboychoi.
Yeah, that'll be in the description. Uh,
I
I
don't do anything.
that won't be in the description.
Twitch.tv/.
And I also am planning on returning to streaming here soon. I just want to figure out what I actually want to stream because now I have a full realm of capabilities and I don't know where to start. And so,
Papa's Wingeria speedrun.
yes, I might actually at some point, maybe tomorrow. I don't know, but yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed.
Yeah.
Obviously, listen to last week's episode. Listen to any episode. Go,
Please listen to the episodes.
yeah. Click the links in the description. Um, other than that, I think
Bye.
I think I'm gonna head out.
I
I'm head.
bye.
And I'll cut it off there.